New immigrants' life in Canada. Many people have this question in mind, and especially at the time when they're deciding and preparing to come to Canada, where to settle in Canada, because there are so many videos telling the benefits of migrating to Calgary rather than Ontario, saying that tax percentage is less as compared to Ontario and housing is relatively affordable and Calgary is very beautiful and this and that. But I think among all the factors, the thing that is most important for the new immigrants and that plays a pivotal role in their settlement in Canada is not so much based on where they come in Canada, like whether to come and settle in Calgary or somewhere in Ontario. I think the most important is the family structure that will help you prepare your best to come to Canada and really get a hold of the situation and get things going in terms of your earning and your integration into this society and understanding of this culture and really starting to settle down in Canada. But before we delve any deeper into this discussion, I request you to please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Honest Reviews Canada now. Why am I saying that family structure is the most important thing that helps people settle down in Canada? And the simple answer to this is Canada Child Benefit. I think immigrants who come to Canada with little children have an edge over other immigrants, especially newly married couples or couples without any children, because couples without any children cannot get Canada Child Benefit, of course, because this child benefit is, as the name says, because you have children. And if you don't have children, you don't get this benefit. And it's a substantial benefit. I would not lie here. It's a substantial benefit. Like in Ontario, the maximum you can get, it has even increased lately, at least more than $600, close to that. And it's not just that. On top of that, you also get GST, HST credit. There's Ontario Trillium benefit and a carbon rebate and other kinds of things as well. So I think even if you get $600 per child, and let's say you have two children under the age of 6, then you will be looking at somewhere around 13 to 1500 Canadian dollars. It depends upon certain factors like how much is your household income and what ages your children are, how many children you have, and that is very helpful for new immigrants initial settlement in Canada, because 1500 pays a substantial amount of their rent, even if they are getting a townhouse on rent or a two-bed basement or whatever arrangement they feel comfortable in. This is a substantial contribution toward payment of that rent. And that's the biggest headache for new immigrants, to be able to arrange the rent, to be able to afford the rent in a time when they are jobless, in a time when they have newly come to Canada and they're looking for jobs and they're trying their best to find some but have none. So I think this puts the families with children at relatively an ease compared to the immigrants who don't have children. Because just imagine if you don't have children and you come to Canada and you're a couple, the kind of living expenses that have become commonplace in Canada. And I am talking all across Canada. I'm not limiting my point to Ontario. Some people say Alberta is relatively cheaper. Okay, it might be relatively cheaper, but it is not too cheap. Its cheapness is, I think, a little too far-fetched or exaggerated in people's minds and understanding. It is not so very cheap. I understand tax is lesser, but even with that being granted, the kind of rent that people are paying there have gone way up compared to what they used to be before. Like I was looking in a video today, and the person was saying that a two-bed basement can be acquired in the northeast area for around 1500 Canadian dollars plus tax. That's almost the same as much as I am paying here in Ontario. So as long as the rent is not much lesser compared to Ontario, other than that, the grocery also is not cheaper compared to Ontario. That person was saying that for a family of four, close to $1,000 suffices for a month. Similar can be said for a family of four in Ontario. So I think the driving factor is not where you come and settle in Canada. More important is what kind of family structure you have. If you're a newly married couple and if you have time, I would advise start planning your family. That would be in your best interest. Coming to Canada with children is better rather than just as a couple, because as a couple, to be able to arrange a minimum of $4,000 here in Canada, because $4,000 is the bare minimum you need, at least in Ontario, to be able to live decently, to be able to afford a car, its insurance, its gas, and then your rent and grocery. So you need at least 4 grand there. So for a couple that comes to Canada, unless both people work or one of the two finds a very, very well-paying job, it's not possible to manage those kind of expenses. If you make a minimum wage, because I've also worked at a minimum wage, that was my first job in Canada, but that was even more than a minimum wage since I also got some commissions from that job. So that was around 2,200 Canadian dollars per month from a minimum wage perspective for one person. So unless both of the partners work, it's very difficult for people to manage their expenses in Canada. I'm talking about couples. So I think the best family structure to come to Canada with is a family with children, and at least 2 children is better. And some people say, oh, you talk too much about Canada Child Benefit, you should not, and it's a grant, it's like a charity. No, you have to understand how the system works, okay? And you will not always keep getting this Canada Child Benefit. There will come a time when, if you stay in Canada, your earnings and your taxes will be going toward the payment of Canada Child Benefit to other Canadians as well. And the government will stop paying you because your children would have grown beyond a certain age and all that. So it's not always a take kind of scenario, it's always give back. And now, even that being said, at the time when you are actually getting the Canada Child Benefit, you are paying so much into taxes. It makes total sense for you to take Canada Child Benefit, and it's not a matter of choice, basically. It's given to you. If you don't want it, you could very well pay back in any shape or form that you desire. But honestly speaking, the kind of living expenses that prevail here in Canada these days, it's an absolute necessity. Any dollar that you could get from anywhere legitimately and justifiably, you must, because that's very, very essential, especially in your initial days, months, and years in Canada. I hope this video would have knocked some sense into you as to where you want to come and settle in Canada, and what should be your family planning, and what should be your short and long-term goals. Do let me know what more questions you have in mind. I'll be more than happy to help to whatever extent I can. Please subscribe to my channel. Have a nice day. Until next time, take care and bye.